morning. Gosh, it seems strange to say good evening, but we do have something pretty momentous on the agenda today. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Council's Cabinet, which will be webcast. Before we start these proceedings, may I bring to your attention some housekeeping matters? There is no expected fire alarm testing today. Therefore, if the fire alarm does sound, please follow the fire and emergency procedures and leave via the nearest fire exit. Please can I ask that you use your microphone when addressing the meeting and that it is switched off when you are not using it. Please ensure that your mobile devices are turned to silent. So item 1 on the agenda is apologies.
Thank you, Chair. We've received apologies from the leader.
Thank you. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest in respect of the items on this evening's agenda? No, thank you. I move to item 3 on the agenda then, minutes of the previous meeting. I propose that the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of November 2025 be signed as a correct record. Is that all agreed? Great, thank you. Agenda item 4 is questions from the public. And I don't think we have any questions from the public.
There's no questions from the public today, Chair.
Thank you. Chair's urgent business. To receive any items of urgent business from the Chair, which is me. I don't have any. No, okay. Thank you. So, I move to item 6. Plymouth City Council's local government reorganisation proposal for Devon. Councillor Stevens will introduce this report. Over to you, Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Chair. I'll not attempt to repeat the speech I gave this afternoon because of the time limit. There were a number of important points made from across the Council, and I'm really pleased that we have received the level of support from the Council that we have. Our proposal will deliver authorities strong enough to plan strategically with partners, yet local enough to deliver services that respond to the needs of every community. We have 3 key arguments to deliver this. Decisions must be made close to communities, not in distant council chambers. Our proposals protect the culture and identity of all communities across an expanded Plymouth through local decision making. Secondly, public service reform. The 2-tier system has failed Devonians. It costs too much, and with many core services in significant difficulty, causing serious impact on the residents. And lastly, growth. Plymouth needs room to grow, to develop and benefit from the Freeport and Langage opportunities, and to take full advantage of Team Plymouth and the defence dividend. So perhaps we could go through the points raised by members, which I understand you have collated, Chair.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Stevens. Thank you. So perhaps we can begin by addressing the contributions, excuse me, from our Cabinet colleagues present, Councillors Aspinall, Creswell and Briarsdelve, and then also the points raised by Councillor Freeman.
Okay. Unsurprisingly, Councillor Aspinall emphasised integrated adult social care and the changes in the NHS. Councillor Creswell focused on skills alignment and the SEND white paper due in the new year. And Councillors Briarsdelve highlighted environmental aspects and public service reform. And Councillor Freeman noted the importance of financial sustainability. These were very supportive contributions, which I appreciate and serve to highlight the huge opportunity that Devon has to fundamentally change the way that services are delivered. And I confirm that the specific issues raised regarding social care, integration, skills and education alignment, environmental focus and financial stability and sustainability are all fully reflected in the proposal before us.
Thank you. And so moving on to Councillor Lugger's contribution, he supported the boundary expansion, but he argued strongly for a clear communication strategy.
Communication strategy is currently being developed for the next stage of local government reorganisation, and this is a firm commitment that also responds directly to the recommendation from the Scrutiny Management Board.
Thank you. Councillor Beer raised 2 specific opportunities for Plympton. The first was addressing the impacts of Deep Lane and Sherford, and the second was the potential for a Plympton Town Council to keep representation local.
these were relevant points, but in relation to the transport and development issues at Deep Lane, these can be addressed when a new local plan is prepared as set out in the proposal. And regarding the suggestion of a new town council for Plympton, we are open to further discussions on this, which can take place as part of the development of neighbourhood networks.
Councillor Steele, in his contribution, he highlighted the historic pride of Plympton and Plymstock and the importance of parishes. And Councillor Macleay called this a generational opportunity, but stressed that residents must be engaged given the tight timescales involved.
Yes, this has been a strong feature of our proposal, and we agree that residents must be taken with us on this journey. The issues raised regarding the importance of parishes, historical identity and the vital necessity of residents' engagement are reflected in the proposal, and I am looking forward to working with all communities and developing new approaches to local governance. We will, of course, be very clear in our communication about how members of the public will be able to access the consultation on all proposals in Devon, which will be run by the government.
And finally, Councillor Wood supported the abolition of the two-tier system, but he felt the proposal missed a trick with not including Tavistock, and he raised concerns about impacts on Dartmoor National Park. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yes, we have taken this on board, and I will ask the Chief Executive, under her delegation, to review the options appraisal to better focus on the principles he raised regarding the wider geography. Whilst we have always sought to minimise the impact on the National Park, only small parts of the very southern extremities of the National Park will fall into the new boundary. I am confident that we will be able to work constructively with the affected communities and the National Park Authority to ensure the proposal works for all stakeholders.
Thank you, and we thank all the councillors who made contributions today. And now I'm going to hand over to the Chief Executive, Tracy Lee.
Thank you very much. Just a few words from me, and actually something to echo in what Councillor Macleay said, that this is a generational opportunity. We don't get to think about local government reorganisation very often, and the last one was 50 years ago. So this really is quite a momentous day for you as a cabinet, and I am really, really pleased with what has taken us to this point. From the original letter we received from the government to ask us to participate in this right back at the, well, it was the end of last year, all the way through to the first report we took to Council in March, and the huge amount of work that has happened in the meantime, involving yourselves as Cabinet, the whole of the Council, really reaching out and trying to engage with as many people as we possibly could, and lots of involvement from members of staff, many of which live either within the city or within the 13 parishes. We've worked with other councils across Devon. We've hosted a data room, so all the data could come into a single point. So whatever proposals come forward and go into the government by the deadline of Friday, the data should be consistent, because we've all fed the data room, and I think that's a really strong point in terms of the propositions. And we've worked closely with colleagues in Exeter and in Torbay on these proposals. We haven't fallen out with anyone anywhere, but we have worked with Exeter and Torbay, and that's why today you made an amendment to the council resolution, so that we look at submitting a single proposition between ourselves and Exeter. It is subject to their cabinet meeting, which will take place on Wednesday. But part of the reason for that is looking forward and thinking about the consultation that the government will do in January, and looking at what are called the priority places, where the consultation is currently live for other places around England that are going through this process. What we wanted to do was to make sure that the public weren't confused in seeing two propositions that are in essence the same. The proposal being a 4 unitary option for the Devon system. So there is a bit more work to do, and subject to you giving me delegation, then we will crack on with that work and crack on with the additional work that was suggested by Councillor Wood at full council today. So we will do that, and that would be signed off in consultation with the Deputy Leader acting as the leader. Just want to take an opportunity to say thank you to the team who have done an absolute marvellous job. We made a decision early on that we would have a dedicated small team. They have been quite a crack team in the work that they've done, absolutely focused on this. Engagement across the whole council, but there's always a danger that people are sucked into the world of local government reorganisation at this stage, and there's a lot of other work that the council needed to do. So I want to thank the team who have done a fantastic job working both within the council, within the city, across the 13 parishes, but more widely with their colleagues across the whole of Devon. So that point around we need to remain friends with everybody. This is about what is the best option for the whole of the Devon system. So I just want to say thank you to them.
Thank you. I'm going to open the item for debate, but I've actually written sort of similarly to what you just said. And actually, I think the extraordinary work and the efforts of the senior officer team who've got us to this place, they really have been dedicated in both meanings of that word. And also to all the officers who I know who facilitated the engagement exercises, which form such an important part of the submission that we're going to put forward. So a huge thank you to all of them. So I open this item for debate. Would any Cabinet member like to speak? Councillor Pemberton.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think this has been a really interesting few months, and it feels like only a few months, I think slightly longer. And I've been listening really carefully, not only to the reports, but watching online and listening to some of the letters and other comments people are making. And I just wanted to reflect back personally in terms of some of the areas in my portfolio that I think are important to say that I've listened. There's been a lot of talk about the fact we want 13 parishes in order to concrete over the South Hams because we need lots of housing. And actually, that feels very far from the truth. We've made a decision to intensify the density of housing in the city centre in order to protect green spaces, to improve our carbon efficiency as a city, to provide good quality housing that is easily accessible to lots of people and to lots of the facilities of the city. I think that's a responsible approach. And if you were to look at an aerial map of the city, you would see lots of woodland and lots of green spaces and lots of blue spaces. And those matter to us already. A proposal that brings 13 parishes in, bringing parishes that for many of us were places we played as children, were places that we went out to as part of the life of a city. And I just wanted to say that from my perspective, homes are about places. They're about the environments in which they sit. And the joint local plan has kept development to the urban fringes. It's protected green spaces. And from my perspective, in terms of housing, that will still be very clear to me that place matters. And I think this submission reflects that as well. But I just wanted to reflect on that bit. There's also been a lot about community identity. And as the Cabinet Member for Communities, that obviously concerns me. And as I reflect, Plymouth is made up of towns, villages and hamlets, some of them dating back to pre-medieval times. In fact, Catdown is a Viking name. You know, we go back centuries, millennia, and that really matters to us too. And we're all proud of the identity of the places we live. In fact, if there are places that don't have identities, people start to create an identity for them because that really matters. I take my car to the garage in the village. It's no longer where I live, but it's where my parents lived when I was at university, and it's in Plymouth. But they called their local shop the village. But there will be plenty of other people in Plymouth who go to their local shops in the village that aren't the same village that my parents went to, because we are made up of places that still retain those identities. And those places are value to us. They are value to our city because they add to our identity. And the additional parishes that are being proposed to come in under local government reorganisation actually will add further to that and add richness to the places that make up a really vibrant community with lots of different people living in it and moving between it. So I think community identity will be strengthened, not weakened, through this. And I look forward to that. I just wanted to reflect that our civic life actually reflects that. The Plimpton Senator has no real statutory function anymore, but they are treated with the same dignity and preference as other office holders, such as the Lord Lieutenant, the High Sheriff, the Lord Mayor of Exeter, and the mayors of local towns, the chairs of local councils. And as we were preparing for next year's civic diary, we have already added the 13 parish chairs to our civic invitation list because they matter to us. Actually, whether local government reorganisation matters or not, they should have already been there. And the first expression of that is that they're each being invited to our civic commemoration of Holocaust Memorial Day so that they form part of that civic recognition because that is part of who we are. And finally, I just wanted to talk about involving residents and communities because there's this sense that, oh, the council's going to take over and it's all going to be distant. And we've recently adopted a new... We've recently adopted a new engagement and consultation framework. And that was a very purposeful thing, not because of local government reorganisation, but actually because it's the sort of thing we continually need to revisit. In fact, I think it's the second one I've introduced as a cabinet member. And we've used this as the basis for the dialogue we've already had with the 13 parishes. Not about decision making in terms of consultation, but engagement. What do you want? What would be good? What would be the issues? How can we address those together? Conversations and dialogue that lead to positive decision making. And that's the precursor for what we want to do a lot more of. It's the basis of how we'll develop neighbourhood governance and decision making going forward. And the 13 parishes are going to be key in that as statutory. And we know, in fact, the document recognises that local government reorganisation is going to mean that that changing document will need to reflect that and it will need to develop. And I look forward to working on that. But as we were developing that document, we were saying, what are we hearing about LGR? What are we hearing from the parishes? What are we hearing from the population of Plymouth? And I think today's discussion was really good and rich, but I just wanted to reflect a bit on the thinking I've been doing behind the scenes and talking with officers about as we develop this, because I think that listening ear is one that isn't going to go away, and I just wanted to be able to reflect that in this discussion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Pemberley. So I think we're ready then to move to the recommendations, which are on pages 9 and 10. So having considered all relevant information, including the report, the scrutiny recommendations, the full council debate, the alternative options, and the statutory, legal, financial, and equalities implications, and being satisfied that the decision is reasonable, proportionate, and in the best interests of the council, I now move the recommendations as follows. Number 1, agree the Plymouth City Council's local government reorganisation proposal for Devon document as set out in Appendix A and approves its submission to the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government. The reason: to respond to the statutory invitation issued by the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government to Plymouth City Council on the 5th of December 2024 and to comply with the requirement to submit final proposals by the 28th of November 2025. Recommendation 2 is that we delegate authority to the Chief Executive in consultation with the leader to make any final changes to the Plymouth City Council's proposal for local government reorganisation in Devon before the deadline for submission. This will include a review of the options appraisal to answer the points raised at Council. The reason is to enable the Chief Executive to make any necessary final changes to the City Council's proposal as necessary in order to meet the government's submission deadline of 28th of November 2025. With the additional recommendation agreed by Council that, subject to agreement by Exeter City Council at a meeting of their Executive Cabinet on 26th of November 2025, this proposal and Exeter's proposal be submitted to the government as a single proposal, comprising a shared executive summary, replacing that at pages 39 to 45 of the agenda pack, and the detailed rationale for the Plymouth and Exeter position as appendices. For Plymouth, the appendices. Oh, not this one. Oh, apologies, right. Detailed rationale for the Plymouth and Exeter position as appendices. For Plymouth, the appendices will consist of pages 46 to 322 of the agenda pack. And the reason is to acknowledge that the Plymouth and Exeter proposals are in essence the same, to streamline the future consultation process and to send a strong message to government that the urban centres of Devon are united in their support of the 4 unitary model. And I think that's it. And I think, given the history of LGR, I think it's probably a fair bet that most of us in this room probably won't be around the next time something like this happens. It is momentous. And I looked up momentous, and that is something of great importance or significance, especially on having a bearing on future events. And I think what we've been doing here will have a bearing on future events. And we can make this submission in confidence that we believe it's what is right for Plymouth and the 13 parishes who we hope to welcome. So thank you all. Oh, yes. Very important, obviously, that we vote on this submission. Can I have a show of hands, please? Agreed. Thank you. And I think that brings this meeting to an end. Yes. Thank you.